What mic?
Her mic.
I got it. What y'all talking about?
So we're up, right?
Yeah.
You sure? I'm just kidding. Hello, we're just gonna be kind of loopy today and crazy. Hello, everybody. I got my girls with me. Where my girls at? Where my girls at? We got the Hilliites on today with a very special, awesome guest, Michelle Rice. Give it up for Michelle Rice. This is gonna be thebomb.com. I'm telling you, I've been kind of eating on this one all week, calling people, asking them about their madness as if I don't have any. But anyway, their madness is much worse than my madness. So we're gonna talk about some large madness and some Paquito madness, but it's all still madness, okay? So I am very, very happy to have Michelle Rice here. Oh my God, we were just talking about how we met. It was just a divine connection, right?
Indeed.
And I want you to know I'm grateful to be in your company because you have put it out there for daughters and mothers. And I mean, we have to ask questions. We have to start getting in and really digging in and asking the question, why am I like I am? Or why was my mother the way she was? And I'm gonna come back to that because I found out some very interesting things. And even as it relates to my own personal history. And I didn't even know because you asked the question and you spoke about your mother's madness. So we'll go around and everybody will introduce themselves. And then we'll jump right in. So go, Lolo.
Yes, we're going to jump right in, but we are going to do a good intro today. I think we go through it so fast because we're like, hey, we're back. And we just want to get to the guests, but I am Laurie Fox. I was not here last week, so I'm so glad to be back. It is just awesome watching it from the other end, but being here and engaging is so much better. Yes, so yes. I invite you to share tonight, but then I also invite you to come and join us on Tuesdays, 7 p.m., right here in our live audience. Our page has the address. We would love to have you here. We go after dark. So last week I couldn't go after dark. I'm like, what are they talking about? What's the discussion? What is the audience saying? Because there's so much interaction once we end. So I'm glad to be back, and it's going to be a good night. So make sure you share.
Yes, please share. And I am Tonette Wright, and I'm glad to be back for 2019. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Yes, the year of the supernatural. I'm expecting supernatural things, but I'm excited to be here. Just the topic alone, I just know is going to break chains and bring deliverance and bring healing amongst mothers and daughters. So I'm just really ecstatic and can't wait to hear you, Miss Michelle.
First, let me give honor to God.
Amen.
Let me give honor to God, and I just want to give reference where it's due. I am most excited about being here, and it is truly a divine connection that I met Lady Gail. I didn't know her from my next door neighbor. So I'm excited to talk about my mother's madness. And I hope that I can make it through without shedding any tears. So y'all just keep me in prayer, okay?
Yes, it's okay.
All right.
We've all shed tears, so we don't point another, trust me. I am Felicia Jones, and I haven't been on the show in a while, so it's exciting to be back tonight, to be with you guys. I tell you, this New Wine Talk is amazing. It's phenomenal. Reaching women, we get so many reports of women that are being touched across the world, and so we say chime in with us tonight. We're excited about the topic, excited about you being here, Michelle, and so we're going to dive on in.
We're gonna dive on
Awesome.
in. So I just wanna kind of talk a little bit about madness and mothers, okay? And I've been knowing Felicia for what, about 5 or 6 years? About 6 years. And we've had some conversations that just all of a sudden, generally speaking and talking, and then go into a place where we start talking about mothers. And, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, it was madness, some things that have occurred in even my own personal life. So on this week, last week, I called my mom after speaking to Michelle and, you know, posting about my mother's madness in the play. And I was asking my mom, you know, Mom, what do you think your madness was all about? Because one was kind of touch. Okay, she gonna see this, but Mama, you know I love you, but you know.
Hey, Mama Barbara.
Okay.
She don't let all the war cry.
And so my mom just began to share with me some of her, it was so deep. She started talking about her rejection and how she was rejected as a child, and, you know, some things that transpired in her life, and having her mom and her dad together, and they were like forced to be together. It was like not a love relationship. And him leaving her and rejecting her and going into a place and getting married to another individual, and her not really having that connection, you know. And so she said she can just go back to that place where she believes that instituted her mistrust of people. She just did not trust people at all. She did not trust people at all, and she even talked about not having productive relationships, even today. She said, I could never have a productive relationship. She said, because firstly, I was abandoned by my father, and then she was abandoned by my father, and it just caused her to be in a place of like almost, you know, don't fall in love. Get what you can get out of this, and keep it moving. So don't ever let your emotions and your feelings become attached to it. And so now I understand. And she talked about being able to leave at any given moment. You know, she would be in a relationship, get up, and I mean, we moved probably like 329 million times plus some, because she could just, if it's over, okay, we gonna call it a day. Get up and move around. So that was madness for her, and it really caused a lot of issues for children, for, you know, us as children. And we talked about, I have a brother that did 28 years in the penitentiary, and we even talked about that on this week, how he was rejected by my stepfather. And so he talks about 90 to 95% of the men that are in penitentiary, he believed it is because they were rejected. It was rejection. And so what do you say to that, Michelle? Talk about your mother's place, and then we'll all interject about our mother's madness. Some of us may get a little bit deeper than others, but it has to be talked about, because somebody out there needs to be delivered, and they need to understand that they can be free. Okay.
Well, you touched on it. Basically, being abandoned. It's a place where you end up looking for love in all the wrong places, be it a woman, be it a male. I grew up with the thought, or with the idea, or it being shoved in my face that, and this is how it basically all started. The father is the girl's first love. So when he's not there in the home, that shapes how that daughter goes throughout her life. And that's basically what brought about my mother's madness.
Wow.
That basically was the catapult to it all. So in his absence, she looked, and I'm speaking regarding my own mother, she looked for love in all the wrong places. Wow. She didn't have that example of what a father is supposed to be, what to look for in a man. So, you know, she was rejected, therefore she rejected. She was hurt, so therefore she hurt. Of course. You know, and the cycle just continued. It just continued, you know. So, but I came about the title of the play. It was based off my book that I published in 2016. And it was a funny story, true story. Had been going through some things myself and dealing with my fifth sister. And talking to, and I shared it with Lady Gail earlier, and talking with CPS and whatnot. And with each agency, you have to, you know, tell the story. You know, why? And in that, I kept saying, jokingly, I was like, I just don't understand my mother's madness. I don't understand my mother's madness. And I just kept saying it, and jokingly I said, I'm gonna write a book about this. And the caseworker, she said, oh, you better. And I was like, okay. I don't know how to write a book, but okay, you know. So fast forward, that was way in 2010.
Wow.
So fast forward to 2016, I published the book.
Wow, awesome.
And yeah, so then here we are in 2019 with this play, and I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Oh, well, we cannot
Yeah.
wait.
Yes.
We cannot. How do we get the book?
The book is online. It's at Amazon.com, and of course, it's under the same title. And for those that will be in attendance of the play, my goal is to, as a gift from me to you, because I love people, I want to gift those in attendance with the book.
Wow. And we're going to be in attendance. So, Laurie, you want to talk a little bit about Madness?
Well, you know, it's interesting because we were talking earlier, and I just told Michelle that I was so impressed that she was able to not just write the book, but then to produce a play, you know, taking situations that happen and making that visual and in a sense where people can really understand the story. I just think it's so powerful. And those are the things that stop the madness. So we've had so many shows, and you all have heard so many of my stories, and it's crazy because I did not know we were having this topic this week. And I was talking to my daughter, and we were just talking, and she was like, Mom, I think I'm in ninja training. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm in master ninja training. So, you know, she was just talking about situations that she's going through and how she's handling that. And like I said, you know, you all know I had a horrific childhood and a lot of things that I can look back on and say, oh, my mama's madness, my madness, all the madness. But at the end of the day, I'm such a forward-thinking person, and I want my daughters to be free and my daughter's daughters to be free, that it's like, you know what, I need to look at what is going on in me right now. So we tend to overcome a lot of things that we know that are generational trends or curses, and God delivers us or brings us out, but then there's still these subtle patterns and traits on things that we just simply say, oh, that's just me, that's just how I am, and that's not perfection, and it's not excellence in God. And when I say perfection, I'm talking maturity. I'm not talking perfection as in being perfect, but being mature in God and being able just to stop and say, okay, let me deal with my madness. So I am kind of in my master ninja training, dealing with my own personal madness, whether it be just my level of integrity, keeping my word with people, following through, following up, taking it to the next step, being on time, not focusing on everybody else, what you got going on, but what do I have going on? Why do I keep having this issue?
Wow.
Right? Because at the end of the day, I don't care how free you get, until we get to glory, we not free. right? So it's always going to be something that you're digging through and digging out, and just being able to stop and deal with ourselves and say, okay, how am I going to get past this one? So hats off to you, because I feel like your play and your book challenge women, and especially black women, African American women, being so strong as we are, to not settle for, I'm just a strong woman, or this is just how I am, or who I am. And at the end of the day, you're really still continuing a pattern. That's not a blessing.
Right.
You know what, I was looking in the, just dealing with word, and everybody talks about Jezebel and how Jezebel would flow in and out and move, and we know that she seduced the whole nation. But in dealing with Jezebel, most people leave out, and they shouldn't, her daughter, Athaliah, who was even more treacherous than Jezebel. And so if we don't deal with the madness that we inherit from mama, then most often we become even more treacherous, okay? And so this was a woman that murdered all of her grandchildren because she wanted what she wanted. She was the ultimate. We think Jezebel was an opportunist. She was the ultimate opportunist. And so in dealing with certain issues in my life, I saw that sexually transmitted disease or the demons, and I began to look, I'm like, oh my God. So my mom was rejected by her dad. I was rejected by my dad. Her mom, and she went all the way back to her grandmother, was rejected. That is just demonic in itself. So it's set up in our household of women. It went both ways. Either you became very dominant and strong and like, you know what, this is not going to happen to me, before it happens to you. Or you submit to that because you just want to be in that place, and you find yourself, getting into relationships, looking for love in all the wrong places, and not being in love, but being in lust most often. And after the lust has transpired and it's over, then what you have is emptiness. And so most often the madness leads to that place of emptiness. Right? What you think, Michelle?
That is so true. The generational curse, I had to learn about that the hard way. My mother, let me back up. Her mother had 7 kids. She was the oldest, and she had 7 kids by 3 different men. She married the last 4 kids. She married their dad. My mother, of course, she had me at a young age. Now, she did marry my father. And again, she didn't know what it was, to have a man. Her father wasn't there to show her what to accept and what not to accept.
Right.
My dad was just like her dad, who wasn't there. He was an absentee father. So the cycle, it just kept repeating itself. So then my mother turns around and she has 5 girls by 5 different men. I come along and I got pregnant at a young age. I have 3 sons, 2 different men. So it's and their fathers weren't in their lives. And it became a point where, all I knew was, okay, and something that you said earlier, let me just be in lust. I'm not in love. My dad wasn't there, so I didn't know what to look for. I knew that he wasn't a man of integrity. So and I say it all the time, when this jive turkey would tell me he would do something and wouldn't do it, I'm bailing. I'm out the door. And it got to the point where I said, you know what? Enough is enough. So I had to go and counsel with my pastor. And he said, what you're dealing with is a generational curse. And I'm like, what? A what?
Come on.
Yeah, he said the only way that you're going to be delivered of that is through fasting and praying. Again, I was like, what? Fasting? I like to eat. You want me to do what? I can pray, but what? Yes. And the first time I fasted, y'all, I promised to God, I smelled chocolate and soda all day.
I believe it.
That temptation was on me. That demon of Hershey's Snicker bar was on me. Jesus. So, and I had to break it because I have 3 sons. So to testify that it works, my sons are 5 years apart. My baby boy, in fact, his birthday is today, and he just turned 23. So my children are 5 years apart. Happy birthday, fat boy! I love you. I love you. So I knew something had to change. Something had to change. Exactly, for my children, for my children's children. And so I fasted and I prayed, and my oldest son is married with children. My middle son is married with children.
There you go.
I didn't do that. My mother didn't do that. You know, she did, yeah, she married my father, but it didn't work. Hence, having 5 kids later, or 4 kids later rather, by 5 different men. You know, so something didn't work. So I said, you know what? I got to break this cycle, especially by me having boys. Because of the fact that we receive the Spirit. That's why we have what we have and they have what they have, because we take on their spirit. And I said, I will never be one to have kids that are just jacked up from the floor up.
There you go.
And you sleeping with this person and that person, because you know, that's how we come about with those spirits.
Yeah.
Spirits transfer.
Yes, they do.
They transfer. So I said, you know what, this cycle has to be broken. It has to be broken. If I don't do anything else, I need to break this cycle for my kids.
Yes.
You know, it hasn't been perfect. You know, I've had some bumps along the way, but God knew that, hey, my daughter needs to break this cycle. She's got to do something. And that's what I did. So I just give God the glory for that in itself. You know, that my kids did not have children out of wedlock. And I just thank God for it. Now, my baby boy, he's like, you know what, I ain't worried about no kids right now. So then that's fine.
Awesome.
That's fine, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah, so.
Tonette?
Well, I was the mama with the madness. Because I had that whole seed of rejection that starts from the beginning in the root. You know, when my parents got a divorce, and even though my mom had both her parents in the house, it's something that can be very strange when you begin to question and ask, like you did, you know, like what was really going on? Even though you had both your parents in the house, because I'm trying to find out where it all started and the root with you. And I know my grandfather, he had spent some time in prison for a crime that he committed, and he was married previously, so he actually had committed murder. And while he was locked up, I know that my grandfather, even though he was a nice, quiet man, he was always to himself, and he was an alcoholic. And so he spent a lot of time doing different things. So it kind of made me go back into my mother's childhood and wonder, okay, is this the reason why she did this? Is this the reason why she, you know, ended up getting pregnant at 17 and, you know, forced into marrying my dad at such a young age, you know, and you just start seeing all of that. So then I saw myself looking for love in the wrong places, dealing with rejection, out here, just going, you know, trying to find myself. Because no matter what, when a parent, even though both my parents, they, throughout the time, they both remarried, you know, and I was living with my mom, my stepmom and my dad, I still wanted my mom. I still wanted that relationship, you know, and fast forward, we're a lot better with one another today. But looking at my madness, I started seeing all these seeds and, you know, anger and bitterness and just crazy. You know, even when I got married, I was still crazy. And I was saved and everything, loving on God, but I was still crazy. But I knew, it's just like we are talking about, I have a daughter now. You know, this is a miracle child because I had issues, you know, giving birth. So I'm like, Lord, we got to find out what's going on in the inside of me. We got to deal with this rejection. And I'll never forget, Lady Gail mother had a counseling thing when we did a psychodrama. And I basically had a partner. And in that psychodrama, I went back to being that little girl again and dealing with that rejection. And I was like, oh my God, I've never felt that way before, putting myself back in that position of being a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old girl wanting their mom, and just, it was just crazy. But God is a deliverer, you know, so I thank God for even in that, for helping me to recognize things. And it's things that I kind of see moving in my daughter. Even now, she's 15. And when I see stuff, I'll be like, ooh. we gotta
We gotta
check that, and we gotta deal with it early right now, because I have these one-on-one conversations with her. If anybody know Amber, we are very vocal, you know, and we raised her that way for a reason, because I want her to be able to tell me everything, so she does. And so when she tells me things, I'll be like, what did you just say? Okay, so then we deal with this, because I want her to understand. You got to be able to recognize triggers and different things that the enemy would try to come for you and make you go through the same thing that I went through. And I don't want you to deal with that. You know, and if it does come, like Pastor always say, if the thing come knocking at your door, you don't have to open it and let him in. So that was my biggest thing, you know. So yeah, I had a whole lot of madness, and I'm still, like Laurie said, when I see little things, I'm like, okay, God, we gotta go on a fast, because a lot of times.
And
prayer. And thank God for 21 days of fasting and praying at the beginning of the year, because it's like, Lord, let's lay this stuff and crucify it now.
That's right.
You know, and then, but sometimes you're gonna have to pull away and go through another fast and another fast and another fast to just constantly crucify your flesh, especially when we put up these walls of saying that this is where Jezebel come in. See, this is how she come in, because you ain't gonna never do me like that. Ain't nobody gonna ever hurt me, reject me, abuse me, do this and do that. Then we start controlling, and then we want to manipulate, and then we do all kinds of stuff. I wore the hat. I can tell you how she moves. So I wanted to recognize that thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut up. I recognize her still.
Felicia.
Hi, Laurie. Okay.
Hey, Felicia. So wait, let me say this before you start, because we've talked, and the last time that me and you had a conversation, I brought it up again the other day, because I could not phantom, like Maisha always say, don't say it like that, whatever. I could not, when you talked to me about the situation with your mom, and something she talked about, and I try to go into those places, and I never knew her mom. I knew her not in her, because when I met you, your mom was sick. She was sick. She was suffering with dementia, and so I didn't know her. I knew her mom, but I didn't know her mother. And so, but I just have this sense of feel for her mom for some reason, and with the stuff that she's talked about, because I can just see it. I go into those places, I'm like, well, she must have really been feeling this way in order for this to happen. And so if you can kind of share with us about your mom and the situation with her mom passing, that was something.
Yeah. So let me first give my disclaimer, because you already know that this is extremely hard for me, because I lost my mom. And so I was in the kitchen today, and I was just kind of thinking about it, and I just started laughing, because one thing about my mom, she was a go-getter. Like, she made it happen. So when you think about all of those generational lines of things that we find ourselves doing, it is true. It's those generational lineages that attach itself to us. But I do know that my mother's madness stemmed from unforgiveness, should I say. It was the mere, her mother had her out of wedlock at an early age, 16, I think it was, when she got pregnant with her, and her mom didn't want her. Like, she literally was trying to abort her, right? Well, then my mom turns around and she had me at 15. She didn't want me. She literally tried to abort me. And so my mom told me all this, right? But the stem of hers was more the unforgiveness with her mom, because she grew up feeling that sense of insecurity, that sense of rejection, but not to mention she was abused. She was sexually abused by my grandmother's boyfriends, or whatever. And so my mom shared this with me at one point in her life, and I'll never forget it, because I had so many questions. I was like, well, Mom, did you talk to her about it? Did you tell her? Did you share that with her? And of course, she felt like she did, but it wasn't what she wanted, or the response that she didn't get, or whatever. And so we all have those dark secrets in the family that you just don't bring up, right? So I know she lived with that. She carried that around. And I do know for a long time my mom was bitter. She was angry at her own mom. And that's why I think I worked so hard today to make sure that my girls and I have that relationship with each other, that no matter what, me and Tala fall out all day, every day, but we make sure that we keep it right. And I work hard to make sure that relationship is there there as a mother and daughter. But short and sweet, she dealt with that. She dealt with the unforgiveness part of it. She dealt with the root of it, of being rejected and abused. And so when my grandmother got sick, I remember just like it was yesterday, my mom didn't know how to deal with it. She didn't know how to deal with her mom being sick. She didn't know how to reach out to her and express to her, I've carried this hurt for so long, all these years, and nothing was ever done about it. And I think my mom may have just wanted an apology. But short and sweet, I watched my mom walk with unforgiveness up until my grandmother's death, literally. And it was shortly thereafter that I saw that same root stem with my mom of unforgiveness, so much so that it repeated itself. My grandmother had dementia. My mom had it literally at 60. My mom, the fact of it, the unforgiveness overwhelmed her so much in her brain, I do believe, that it really started playing a major, major impact on her life, only for it to take her out. So you already know the first thing that the enemy was trying to do was attack me with my mind and say, oh, you're going to have the same thing. So I had to bombard that. I had to come against that. And I still do to this day. But I do get it. Hers was literally just total unforgiveness. It was the fact that she did not forgive her mom. She had the anger and the hurt and all of that on the inside of her up until her death.
Wow. Y'all see? That blew me away, because I have seen people that literally leave because they will not release bitterness and unforgiveness. And so I just can't imagine. And Felicia said something about when her mom passed, she went to her mom and her mom was under the covers, and she began to really talk to her about everything that had transpired. And she didn't even know, but I couldn't rest that evening, because I'm just like, oh my God, how detrimental to one's psyche to not have that closure, you know, to allow someone to leave and not be able to say, I forgive you, because it hurts so bad. So it's twofold, you know, it hurts too bad for me even to forgive you. And then in the same token, our mom was a believer. So the guilt that you carry when you don't release an individual, you know. So in my household, and I thought about it, and me and my mom, I didn't share this with my mom until I was 44, that I had been sexually molested by my stepfather. You know, my mom would work at night, so I'm 8 years old, and now I'm a little bit older than 8, but anyway, I could still go back, I always talk about this, still go back to that house, and I haven't been there since I was 8, and just all of that, you know, just see all of this different stuff. But I never forgave, and I found myself being bitter toward just things in general. So everything became a place of where I would be defensive. You know what I'm saying? So if you made me mad, you know, I'm defensive. I'll make you disappear. You know, it's like you never existed. It was all of that where you build this thing around yourself for survival. Just to survive. And so even it was times where I questioned, did this really happen? Because it was a place in my mind that I think I just really repressed. And then I would come back again. Maybe it didn't happen. No, it happened. And so it just really caused a lot of issues in my own personal psyche. And so we have to, but I had to forgive. We have to forgive. So I got to a place in life where I'm like, okay, I can either let this continue to be that place of bitterness, or I can release this individual. And so I decided to release that individual. And, you know, because he was dead, number one. Okay, so you still holding dead folks guilty. You know, I don't have time for that. So you dead, go on about your dead business. And that was just the gist of it. But I had to release that individual because I did not want to be in that place of unforgiveness. And so with that came a place of total forgiveness. So it's not that I just forgave him. I began to find it easier to forgive people, period. Because at first I want to look at him. This happened. I'm not going to As a matter of fact, you never existed in my world. You're not a part of the equation. That's what it did. It hardened. I had a hardened place in my heart. So if you were disloyal, that was it for you. Because number one, I was very loyal, and then I was taking advantage of being loyal. So I never even expressed it because the loyalty. My loyalty was this. You know, suppose my mom don't have anybody to take care of her. Suppose we don't have a place to live. You see what I'm saying? So it's deep. That stuff is deep, and we have to get to a point where we're able to dig and work with it and be free from it. And I'm so glad today I am so free. That's why I can talk freely about it. Before I wouldn't, pick and choose who I would tell. Now it's free.
Not only can you talk freely about it, but you walk that out. So because you have done that before, like you said, you've had people in your grown life, right, in your saved life, to be disloyal or not treat you right or treat you completely wrong, that you had every bona fide right to hold a grudge against. But you chose to release them because you've been in that place of forgiveness. So you know you're free because you continue to be able to walk in that freedom and release those things. And you're right. Once you've had that bitterness, we all have similar stories, horrid childhoods, being able to release and let God deliver us. But once you go from being a person who was very bitter, it is very easy for me to see bitterness coming my way.
Come on.
It is very easy for me to see in any relationship, whether it's with my husband, the 32, 33 years, sorry, babe, somewhere around there, the 30-ish years, or whether it's co-workers or sister girls. It is very easy for me to see when I've been offended and that is not being released because I know that feeling. And I refuse to let that thing hold me. And that's what you're saying. When you walk in that, then you know how to keep walking in it. And again, My Mother's Madness, your book, your story, your play, it's letting women see, look, this is what it is. Because I'm just going to keep it really real. We all have a really bad story. I haven't met a woman yet that doesn't have a bad story. And then I'm not talking of a shade of color. I'm talking about every nationality. I have not met a woman yet that has not had some kind of story that was not good.
Of course.
And we have to get to that place where, okay, we all got a story, but you got to go past that story. Like, what is your story going to end? How is it going to end? How are you going to keep it going? So what you're doing, I think is just awesome because it helps us identify, but then it also helps us move on. So you were sharing a little bit of that, and I've seen your expression through all this time of us talking, because we've never met, although it looks like we know each other, but we've never met our guest. So she's sitting here like, Lord, I didn't know I was getting up here with all of this. So we're going to give you some space to just respond to all of this.
Well, you know what? I'm not even complaining. I'm not even complaining. In fact, you're adopted, you're adopted, you're adopted, you're adopted. So I got some new sisters now.
There you go.
Hey, these my sisters. Yes, indeed. Yes.
That's how it works.
Y'all my sisters.
Yes.
A lot of people, look at me and say, oh, you know what? You keep a smile on your face. And I'm going to share something with you. Not that I haven't been sharing anything with you, but my smile was simply to cover up a lot of stuff.
Come on.
It was simply to cover up a lot of stuff. My smile and making you laugh. It was covering up a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was the spirit of suicide, the spirit of depression.
Come on.
And that came about because of my mother's madness. I'm the oldest of her daughters, so I've seen a lot. I'm 50 years old, so I've seen a lot. I was born in 68, so I've seen a lot. And I had to deal with, the madness. I had to deal with the revolving door of men. I had to deal with, being told, I wished I never had you. I had to deal with being called out my name. I'm like, wait a minute, let me look at my birth certificate. That ain't my name. I had to deal with a lot. I had to deal with the moving from this place to that place, the instability. I had to deal with, like I said, the revolving door of the men. On top of that, sisters who seemed like they were just the worst ever. And then the absence of my father. So as I grew up, like I said, it wasn't, I was in a lot of relationships and it wasn't, oh, I love you. No, let me just see what I can get from you. And the minute that you mess over me or the minute that you say something I don't like, I'm out the door. And again, I had to, hey, Pastor, I need to talk to you. And I noticed that my relationships with women and men, and the reason I said y'all are my sisters, because the old me wouldn't say that. Wow. The old me wouldn't say that. I'd be like, oh.
Right.
Yay, Lord.
You done found your tribe.
Yeah. I had to do a whole bunch of side-eyeing before side-eyeing became popular. Yeah. And then when it came to men, I just was like, with women I would back off. I would side-eye you, but I would back off. But with men it was like, you don't get a second chance with me. So I had to call on my pastor. I said, hey, what's going on? Because something's not healthy. Something's not going on right. And he said, the way you deal with people today is the way you dealt with your mother and your father. Wow. My mother's madness. I love my mother to death. I loved her to the core. It wasn't anything I wouldn't do for her. But growing up, there was some things that kind of made me like, this is not motherly love. Wow. You don't get the opportunity to disappear. And I say disappear because she had left one time and went to California for 3 years. Jeez. I was 19 years old. I had already had my first child. My sister at the time was 13. She had to come and live with me. My mother had pulled the gun out on her because she went and got a hickey on her neck. So I'm like, really? So you're going to overact like that? So, and I say that to say that after 3 years, she came back in my life like nothing even happened. Wow. Like, okay, lady, where you been? So my dealing with women and men was because of my relationship with my mother and my father. So, even though she did what she did, even you may say something that, kind of would remind me of something she'd say, and then I have to like give you that side eye and maybe, like quietly check you. Because I was in that shell. So, y'all, when I tell you, it was a lot of madness. I think that, I can't say that your madness was less than mine, because, you can handle only so much. Whatever's given to you, that's what you can handle. And I would tell my story to people, and they'd be like, yeah, right. Girl, yeah, you kidding. I'm like, no. Trust me, I'm not. When I tell you this, and so I had to heal from all of the hurt. I had to heal from it. So that's what brought about the book. And the devil reared his ugly head, got in my head, and said, oh, you know what? That book ain't about nothing. It ain't gonna reach nobody. Blah blah blah. So I had stopped promoting it. I just gave up on it. So fast forward to now, I was laying in bed, minding my own business. I was at home by myself, and I heard, do a play. Do a what? I don't know anything about doing a play. I don't know the first thing. I know how to buy a ticket and go to a play. I don't know how to produce a play. Right. So I later learned that if it's bigger than you, it's God. And I truly believe that this is bigger than me because I had no knowledge, and I tell my cast and my now husband, y'all, just got married January 12th. This is my second marriage. Yes. Thank you.
Congrats.
And I tell him, I said, I had to go on YouTube University to know what to do. And thank God for my son as well, because he's an actor. So I've been really just pulling at his ear and just tugging at him. And I said, you know what? I've got to get this out because the devil tried to shut me down and shut me up and not tell it. And I said, I realized I'm not the only one. Even though I feel like I've gone through a lot. Even in my own life, on top of what I've experienced with her. Her in and out, the emotional roller coaster, the, talking about me like none other, like, you talking about me like I'm just some lady on the street. I'm your daughter, but I had to realize you're talking to me because you've pushed me out and pushed me away. So, I mean, it's like, what can I expect? So I was hurt, and I said, you know what? I know I'm not the only one. It may be some other women that may not be at the level I'm at, but if I just touch one person, it's well with my soul. I've done what God has told me to do. I know it was not going to be easy. He said, do a play. He didn't tell me what to do it. He just said, do a play. So, like I said, I got scared. I let the devil, and I'm not trying to give him any credit. It is what it is. It is what it is, and having, lived the life I lived, and having dealt with the generational curses, and having dealt with looking for love in all the wrong places, and having exposed myself to the sexually transmitted demons, the STDs, y'all. If you can take that home with you, The STDs. It ain't, not just the STDs that we know of. It's the sexually transmitted demons. I've dealt with that. I've experienced the presence of demons, and I just was like, you know what? Something has to change. Something's not right. Something's not right. I tell, and I might be flipping and flopping, and forgive me, but I knew that something had to be changed again when I was in a 4-year relationship with a young man that I shouldn't have been involved with. And the devil literally, which wasn't the only time, but this go around, he launched an attack on my life to the point where I had a knife in my hand, and I was standing shoulder to shoulder with the guy, and I told him, I said, come on, I'll kill you. I'm going to cut you from your rooter to your tutor. I don't care. I was ready to go. It's either the spirit of suicide was going to take over, or I was going to kill him. Either way, I was going to be in prison, or I was going to be 6 feet under. The devil would have won. Of course. The devil would have won. And so I said, I can't do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. And once I, got rid of that situation, I met my husband, we got married, and I knew then that God was about to open some doors for me. Because when I was with that guy, I used to bake. I'm a cake decorator. I'm a pastry chef. I would literally spend all day baking cakes. Get it to the venue, the cake would literally flop. Jeez. The cake would flop. Guess what I had to do? I had to refund you your money. And a light bulb came on and said, God is not going to bless you financially because you're not going to do anything but give it to this man. You know what I'm saying? So once I got out of that, I got married. That's when God spoke to me and said, do a play. Because when I published the book, I was with the other guy. Devil got in my head. Nah, it ain't gonna do nothing. I had a couple of book signings. It ain't gonna do nothing. Toss your books. Don't even worry about it. But when I got married and got right,
Got right.
I had to get right. I'm not perfect, but yeah, I had to get right. I had to get right. So God spoke to me, and I truly believe that, in spite of it all, like I said, I've gone through the madness. So in spite of it all, I don't even know what to say after that. In spite of it all, but God.
So much. Go ahead, and then I want Michelle to tell them about the play, where it is, because get your tickets, because my church, we packing it out, and then we're gonna, and I'm speaking to leadership that would like to just go and support. What we're gonna do after it's over is we're gonna have an encounter, an open discussion about our Mother's Madness, because I know I have people that are in my immediate circle, and all my spiritual daughters, they're in my immediate circle. I don't do all that extra stuff and cliques and stuff, but all of them are in my immediate circle. We're going to come together and talk about our Mother's Madness and how we believe it is affecting areas in our lives. And then we're going to make sure that everybody leaves there delivered. So it will be an awesome encounter. So, plan something with the women. We're going to go out and we're going to come to the one at 4 o'clock. And then we go and eat. We're going to flood the restaurants. We're going to make this about us. about us. So, Fee, and then you can ask Michelle.
I was just going to say that this is a prime example of how you never know what people are going through,
Of
right?
course.
You never know what a person is dealing with, whether, and you said it so perfectly, and that is we all are good at smiling it through it, right? We can hide behind the mask, but for those of us that know fake, we know fake. So when a person comes to you and they're not being real, you see it a mile away. And so it's those things that causes us, even as we're walking it out and allowing God to prune us and deliver us through it pushes you to that point sometimes of no return, right? And I was thinking about this, and I was sharing this real quickly when I was saying I was laughing at my mom this morning. I was in the kitchen, and I remember thinking how my mom used to cry at the drop of a hat. Right? You didn't know this. But I remember so many times when I first came here, if it wasn't you, it was Pastor, they would always say, please stop that crying, stop that crying. Well, that's all I knew, right?
My God,
but I said that to say when you walk it out, I don't cry today.
No, you
I don't, girl.
Realize.
Seriously. But all jokes aside, do not. But all jokes aside, you understand growth in life,
God.
and you understand maturity. And the last thing you want from a sister is to continuously remind you, oh, you did this, you did that. You walk it out.
That's right.
You walk it out, and you live it out, right?
That's right. That's right.
So true, so true.
Michelle, tell them about how to come to this play. I'm telling you. And they better get their tickets fast.
Yes,
Talk
yes,
about the VIP.
VIP experience.
Yeah, the VIP.
Oh.
We gonna be at the VIP.
Yes. VIP.
Oh my God.
Yes, indeed. So the VIP tickets are $30. Very inexpensive tickets because
Very
it's
much.
not about the money for me.
Come on.
It's about the message, ladies and gentlemen. So just remember that. It's about the message. So the VIP experience is $30, and it's 1 hour prior to the show. So Saturday show on the 2nd is at 2 p.m. So please be in the house. If you're coming at 2, be in the house at 1 o'clock, excuse me. And you will be, for those that don't drink, I'll have something else. But for those that do, we're going to serve champagne, just a tidbit, not a lot. Just much. Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to have chocolate-covered strawberries made by moi, hors d'oeuvres, and you get to meet and greet the cast and myself.
It's gonna be so cool.
And I'm so excited. I can't wait to meet everyone and see all your smiling faces. So, yeah. So, the Saturday show is 2 p.m., and then we have a 6 p.m. show. So, again, 1 hour before the show for the VIP experience. And then we have the $20 tickets for just basic general admission. And then on Sunday show is at 3 p.m. I'm sorry. I'm so excited. I'm thinking about those chocolate-covered strawberries. The chocolate-covered strawberries.
We gonna be there for the Sunday show. Oh my God.
4 p.m. So y'all can get you some chocolate-covered
So we
strawberries.
get there at 3?
Get there at 3 o'clock.
Okay, so we got more than enough time.
Right.
to get there.
If it changes.
Location.
Yes, indeed. It's at the NYE Place Banquet and Event Hall. That's at 461 Parker Avenue, right off of 45. That's north of 610. So please, and I will be at the front door so I can greet every single one that comes to the door with hugs and high fives.
So can you buy your ticket at the door, or do you prefer to buy the ticket before?
If you will, I prefer that you buy your tickets in advance. If for some reason you can't, I'm trying to make it available, easy for everyone. Make it convenient is the word. So you go on Eventbrite, just plug in My Mother's Madness. It'll pop up. If you're computer savvy, you want to use your card, you can do so. All the information is there in terms of the VIP experience and ticket costs. I've went through the liberty of breaking it all down, and I have someone at the door as well. So you can get them now. I have them now, or you can get them later through Eventbrite.
But once they're sold out, they're sold out.
They're sold out because they are going fast, ladies and gentlemen. They are going fast because this is actually a very talked about play, an upcoming production. My Mother's Madness, because we all have it. We all have it. We may be in denial, but we have it.
We gonna be for real.
Right?
But I believe, and I'm praying that a great move of deliverance break through in that play.
Yeah.
So I believe that it's gonna really be life transforming. So please, look, I'm not gonna beg nobody because my church will be there, but I'm trying to get some people free that's somewhere else, and you don't know why the sheep are acting the way. You've loved them, you've been kind to them, you've helped them, you pray for their children, you've done all of this different stuff, and they still have issues, and you're like, what in the world? Where Pastor, my husband, said something very profound to me once before. He would tell me, he said, no, you deal with that person because they're not ready to receive the love of a father because of what they went through in life. He said, so you deal with them until they get ready. And then it was also vice versa. You know, they had women that would, you know, come to him because they were not ready to deal with the love of a mother because that was foreign to them. They hadn't experienced that. And so as leaders, we just got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them and not really cast anybody off or throw them away, but be able to kind of shift in and out. And then we have children that really just have been so rejected and abused that nothing you do will ever really suffice them until they get free. So that's where the deliverance aspect come in. You work with them, and it's either possession or oppression, but the enemy has to move forward. He has to go because all souls are God's, and ultimately he loves every soul. So please come. There's so much as a church body that we miss out on. Now I loves me some Tyler. Matter of fact, we've been debating about them $250 tickets. We're going back and forth, and every time I say, you know what, that's a new pair of shoes. But I love some Tyler. Number one, he from NOLA. And I'm from NOLA. And number two, he is just my boy. But his tickets are 20 times more than what these tickets are. We have to support also our local artists. And who knows? I'm looking for this to be just as big as Tyler started at this point. And so you better get in on the ground and know somebody at the beginning. See, I'm talking about.
And let me say this. If you don't have a church to go with, or you just want to hang with us, New Wine. What day are we going? What day are we going?
We're doing the Sunday.
So
March
go on
3rd.
Eventbrite and buy your ticket for Sunday at 4, and you'll be with New Wine. We'll be there with our shirts on.
We will be.
You can sit with us. You're part of us anyway.
We will be. Not only that, if you don't have a church and you want to visit with us that day, you can get on the van if you don't have gas money or whatever. We got it. Or you can get in there with Laurie.
We're real sisters.
We feed you too. We eat real good.
We are real sisters.
Oh, we feed you.
We real sisters.
You gonna eat real good.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, we feed after you get your chocolate covered strawberries. We got shit because we going to eat.
Made by moi.
So what we got to, so anything else you need to say, number one, you'll have the books there as well. But if they want to read the book now, it's on Amazon, correct?
It's on Amazon, thank God. Not only that, let me give a shout out to my awesome cast.
Please.
I love you guys. I mean, it's to the point, my husband is in the play.
Come on.
I told him, I said, you gonna be in the play? He said, yes, dear.
I love him.
And I have a young lady here with me, Lydia Sanders. She
Give
plays.
it up for her, y'all.
Yes. I thank you to my cast. I love you guys, and I just cannot wait. Thank you for your patience, your understanding. And I didn't cover a lot, but that's because you got to come to the play to come see it all. You got to come to the play. Yeah. So.
So Anthony gonna take us out with a dedication to you.
Oh.
Go on, Anky. Oh my goodness. Antoinette, you'll pray us out.
Antoinette praying.
Come on, Anthony. Y'all give it up for Anthony, our producer.
Hey. So I wrote this song. I never performed it, but I think it's relevant because every day is the day that the Lord has made. And despite of what we go through, we'll be glad, right? And rejoicing in it. So the song, simple. It says, this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. You've never changed. I'm so grateful that you've came into my life. Lord, you've made a way. You've
You've changed my bad days and made them glad days. And I will give you all of my heart. And when I'm down, Lord, you make me better. And I will praise you forevermore. No, this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. You've never changed. I'm so grateful that you've came into my life, Lord. You've made a way. You've gave me my joy. Now I'm glad to say the price that you paid, Lord, I can't repay. You've came into my life and now I'm not the same.
Father, we thank you, Lord, that this is the day that you have made, and we will rejoice and we will be glad. We thank you, Lord God, for the opportunity that you have given us, Lord, to be able to come together. And Father, we know that you are a bondage breaker. We know that, Father, there is no madness that is too hard or too great that you cannot deliver us from. So, Father, we just thank you, Father, for letting our testimony, Father, be a light that will bring transformation and change to those who have heard on today, Father. Father, that you will release the hurt, the pain, Father, rejection, and everything, Father, that will cause us to walk in any type of bondage, unforgiveness, Father. We release those who have hurt us, Father. We thank you, Father, that we shut every door and break every chain of generational curses, generational patterns and behaviors, Lord God. We release them and we give them to you tonight. And we thank you, Lord God, that we will have the mind of Christ, that you will transform our minds, that you will transform the way we think, that you will transform our hearts, Father, that we will open up our hearts and allow you to come in, Lord God, that you will come in and sup with each and every one of us, Lord. Be the deliverer that we need you to be in our lives, God. Let there be no more madness, Father. Continue to bless Michelle. Let this play, Father, go beyond and cross this city, across this nation, Father. We just thank you, Lord God, that you will open up doors that no man can shut for this play, Father. Let the books, Father, be sold, Lord God, and let it bring healing and minister deliverance to those that are reading. In the mighty name of Jesus, we thank you. Amen, amen,
Visit
amen.
us next week. Don't forget, next week is, oh my God, Just My Baby's Daddy. Y'all, we gonna be doing Just My Baby's Daddy. So we'll be talking about functional and non-functional relationships with your baby daddy. So don't forget, visit us next week.
Don't miss
I
that.
need my young millennials to be in the live studio audience so we can talk about them baby daddies.
Yes.
Peace out. Love y'all.
Love you.